In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the front universal joint in your Jeep axle using NOS Jeep parts from Kaiser Willys. Before we can install the shiny new bits, we have to get rid of these crusty, slimy old bits. This part is pretty self-explanatory. The clips are on the inside of the yoke, so you'll have 4 total, 1 on each corner. And they're just basic little C-clips, kind of like a half circle. If your U-joint isn't rusty, you should be able to get right behind them with a screwdriver and pop them out. That's what they look like. This is a closed knuckle axle. A lot of people don't like them, but I love them because when you go to do this, unless it's had water in it, these U-joints have been sitting in some type of grease or oil and usually come out quite easy. I usually end up rotating it in the vise a few times, but you could also do this on the bench, but I found the vise helps you kind of hold it in place. You can use a U-joint press. You can put this in a shop press, or if you have a big old vise like this, you can do it this way as well. This is how I've done it forever, and it works just fine. So I have the vise. It's not tight. It's just open enough to hit the outer yoke on the shaft, and I have a brass hammer. All 4 clips are out. And now I'm just going to hit right here, okay? Don't hit anywhere around the cap, because if you ding up the bore that the cap goes through when you go to reinstall, they're not going to slide nice. So you just have to hit it right here a bunch of times and you'll start to see that walk out. I'm using a brass hammer, so don't worry, it's not going to hurt this shaft. And just start hitting right there. That's it. So these closed knuckle axles always come out nice and smooth like that. So now what I'll do, if you don't want to lose all your little needles, flip the axle over and pull it out, and there, I think I got them all. So now, keeping some pressure upward, roll it over, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So this hammer is probably only like 4 to 6 ounces, I would say. And you can see I'm hitting it right there, and I'm not hitting it very hard, and they come right out. Another trick I do, if you're trying to reuse this or save this for a spare, put some shrink wrap or tape around it, and I'm putting the caps back on, so I'm hitting on the caps. If you're going to throw out the joint, you can leave the caps off and hit right on the inner race of the bearing. But this U-joint is a good spare to keep around. So same exact thing. You can see it moving inside the shrink wrap, and that allows enough travel without tearing it, and it keeps all the caps and needles in place. This is super important to use brass because this is the thrust surface for the brass bushing in the spindle and the bushing surface itself. So I'm using smaller taps on kind of an angle because I don't want to slip and hit that at all. So now it's out, and I can pull off my shrink wrap. Just like that. And if you notice, my caps aren't out far enough for me to get by hand. Ooh, that one is. So I'll pull that one out. Once you get one cap out, you just push it down in the hole like that, and it'll rotate right out. I think over here I have a smaller vise, so I just put the cap in the vise, turn the joint, or turn the shaft, and the cap will pop right out. These are very hard, so you have to really get gnarly with the vise to break these caps. A quick parts bath wash, a little Scotch-Brite in there. Feel for any burrs, if you created any burrs, especially on the inside where your snap ring will go in. Make sure you file them off. Spray it down, make sure it's real clean, and then I wipe a little light oil on the inside. So we're just going to start with one side. It doesn't matter which side you start with first. Now comes the fun part. There's just nothing quite like opening a new old stock Jeep part. So you know you're getting the good stuff, and the way they packaged things back in the days, I guarantee you this will be corrosion free, ready to go. Look at that. Okay. Comes with new clips, like I said, but in the event you lose them, hopefully you saved your other ones. So then you take your joint, carefully, that popped right out, with the cap facing down, just wiggle that cap off. It already has grease in there, so just make sure this gets set somewhere clean. And we're going to remove all 4. So take them all off, set them to the side. You want to be careful, don't get any grit or dirt or anything in these, because this is an important component in your axle. So there's grease in there. It's okay if you want to kind of smear it around on all the needles. It's super important they all stay in place. So then you just take your axle, start one end just by setting it in there and kind of make sure it doesn't fall out. And then we're coming over here to the vise. If it doesn't start to move right away, don't force it, because if you push too hard and you bend these in at all, even just a tiny bit, you're not going to be able to get your clips in. You're going to have all kinds of trouble. So I'm not using a socket or anything. I'm going right in the middle of my vise, and I'm just starting it. Okay, so I did about a half a turn, so I know it started, and that didn't fight me at all. I just had to put a little pressure on it. I'm opening the vise back up. Now I'm going to take my joint, fish it up in the top side, and now this is the really important part. Slide it right down in there, turning it and making sure you don't want any of those needles to fall down. And you should be able to see it go all the way down, all the way to the bottom. All right, so I have it in there. Make sure it still moves. I'm only going part way. And now I want you to take the U-joint and float it to the other side. So do you see how easily that goes from one side to the other? That tells me that none of the needles fell down and that they're lined up. Because if they're like this at all, and you go to push them together, it'll push the needles down. You'll get 1 or 2 needles in the bottom of the cap, and then it won't go. So when you start to close both caps together, or push them together, you need to make sure that both of these bores are in the needles and everything's lined up. So you can see, I mean, that's like 1 finger. That's perfect. So now I know it's in there, and I can just start cranking it. I'm watching it. You should feel consistent pressure. If one side, if it gets hard all of a sudden, it means you probably had a needle fall down or something like that, and we don't want that. So I'm watching the snap ring grooves. I'd like to keep one of the snap rings on hand. Okay, that one is all the way in. If you go way past, then you're just making more work for yourself, because then you have to push the whole assembly over the other side. And now here's the part when these can sometimes go flying. They need to be right in the middle, just like that. Okay. If you want to keep a little screwdriver around, you need to make sure it's seated all the way. There, it kind of clicked in, and I have a gap right here, and I should have a gap on the other side. And now we just have to press the other side in. I like to kind of loosen up the vise at this point, and it should have a little more tension but still turn freely. So that's telling me that none of the needles fell down and that we're good to keep going. You want a socket that just fits inside there. In this case, it's a 3/4 inch socket. That'll help me seat that last cap. This is where it's a little bit of a juggling act, because you have to hold this all in the vise. So my clip's on this side. I need to push that cap in a little bit further in order to get the clip on. So I'm keeping pressure this way and just slowly bring it together. And now I need to make sure that socket's lined up so that it'll push inside the yoke as the cap travels that way. All right, so I'm about a 32nd of an inch. So it comes down to the most minute amount, but it has to be in all the way or that won't go. So right now I think the problem is I have a little gap on the C-clip on this side, and this one's not quite going in the groove. So don't try to drive this in. The C-clip will get ruined and other problems. So you can't use the clip to finish aligning it. You have to use pressure or a hammer. I just gave it another crank. I saw a little bit of movement, and now I'm trying to keep my clip centered properly. Put that second clip in. Just like that. Now we're moving on to the other side. It's the exact same procedure. It's just a little more tricky now because we have to support both axles. This is the shorter side, so it's a little easier. The long side gets a little heavy. It does help to have a buddy here to kind of hold things, but it's definitely not necessary. So we take one of the caps, just like last time, Close up our vise. So, and just a word of caution, right here's where people often make the mistake, because I know some people are going to see this and say, oh, you can't squeeze that, because they think you're going to bend this. As long as you're using light pressure, like I'm just using one hand, it started to go together. It's not, it takes more force to bend that than it does to slide that. Now, if you hit this with a hammer, you have a lot of rust, something like that, you might have issues. But right now, that's sliding in loosey-goosey. I'm not going to bend this. So anytime you have to fight it or it feels really hard, stop, check for burrs, see if you have something else going on, but don't force it. Now we're just going to carefully feed this through. So if you can see how that goes, you just start the opposite end through, just enough to clear, and then carefully slide it in. Make sure it goes all the way in, just like the other side, so that we know we didn't have any needles fall down in. And just start your cap like that and put it in the vise. Try to, you don't want to jar it, because that's when you jar it is when the needles will start to dislodge. Okay, and just like last time, we're floating it to make sure that we're in both sides. And now I'm just pressing it together. Just crank it down. It'll get tight when you have it in the vise. Just seat it the best you can. And looks like the snap ring groove on that side is exposed enough for me to get it in there. Yep. And try not to send it flying across your shop. Make sure it's all the way in the groove. Should snap in at the end. Come over to the other side. Put our little helper socket in there. And pinch it enough to get the other snap ring in the groove. Snapped right in. That's a good sign. Always take it out and make sure all the snap rings are all the way in the groove. And good movement, nice tight new joint. It's the same exact procedure on both sides, so once you've done one, you'll be a pro. Do the same to the other one. And a drive shaft U-joint is the exact same procedure, except the snap rings are on the outside. So once you've done one, you've pretty much done them all. And so we'll get this other joint in, and these axles will be ready to put in the differential housing.